Hi, today's topic is pure, white, and deadly. Am I talking about cocaine? Am I talking about heroin? Am I talking about fentanyl? Or am I talking about sugar? This is a book from 1972 by John Yudkin, Pure, White, and Deadly, How Sugar is Killing Us and What We Can Do to Stop It. So it's kind of interesting that right around the time period that this book came out was when the war on fat began. So he shows, which I'm not going to go into now, a lot of the research and a lot of the facts of how sugar contributes to various diseases. So between 1964 and 1970, our percent of GDP in the United States of America spent on healthcare, which I'm going to call disease management because that's what it does, it manages diseases, went from 5% to 6%. Then from 1970 to today, it's gone all the way up to 18%, okay? So there's been a dramatic rise in the expenditure as a percentage of GDP in the United States of America on our budget, on the federal government's budget spent on disease management. Right around the early 1970s is when the war on fat began, okay? So that war on fat really demonized fat and really, so as our food industry looked at what can they substitute for fat, because if you take all the fat out of all the food, and most fats in nature are good, not to get too much, but trans fats and Crisco oil and other margarine, synthetic fats that the body has no knowledge of, the body has no experience of, and the body does not metabolize, and the body just has no ability to utilize it for anything at all, were very detrimental, and a lot of those were eventually taken out. But they're still available today. So just as a side note, butter, I'll have in one of my videos all the health benefits in butter versus any of these synthetic substances. Again, real food versus ultra-processed food or fake food, God's food versus man food. Do you trust God or do you trust man? So, hey, that's up to you. So, from 1970 to where we're at today, again, the percent of GDP went up to 18% for the healthcare disease management budget. What also went up during that time period, as they took the fat out of foods, then everything was extolled as low fat yogurt, low fat cereals, low fat this, low fat that. So what if fat is taken out and the food is unpalatable? What did the food industry put into the ultra-processed food to make consumers want to consume it? They put in sugar. High fructose corn syrup, fructose, and all its iterations. And let's keep in mind that sugar is an empty calorie. And again, based on this book, based on research, based on Robert Lustig's Metabolical, which I'm quoting a lot in my videos, sugar is toxic. Sugar is a poison, technically, and it produces diseases. So during that time period when we took fat out of the food and put sugar in to replace it, obesity levels started going up from the early 1970s. And as you look at our increase in percent of GDP spent on disease management, obesity has been going up in children and adults dramatically to where it is today. So it's been a steady rise. And so the war on fat, there's some videos circulating on the internet now that go over, that show pictures of videos from beaches from the 1970s where you really don't see any fat or obese people. And that's because our diet has been manipulated by the food industry to create those substances through addiction and through physiological facts. As Robert Lustig says, your liver is designed to process or metabolize a certain amount of sugar. When it's overflowed and you get more sugar, and our diet on average is way above that amount that's able to be metabolized, it's converted to fat. So the war on fat actually created more fat by replacing fat with sugar, which actually produces fat. And metabolic syndrome and a host of other diseases like diabetes, heart disease, cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a quick video to kind of pique your interest in what's going on with our food industry, what's going on with our diet, and what's going on with our national budget, and how sugar is blowing up our budget, our bodies, and our diseases, and just creating havoc. So more videos to come. Thank you.